Hi YouTube, this is ZipDisk. In a bit of a different position today. Show you a better view of my room. But I'm really here to talk about a few other things. First of all, as you can see, you can probably get a better view of my collection over my shoulder. That's my Decepticons. My Autobots are right there, back over this shoulder. And the stuff in the middle is mostly Gundams and whatnot. Other giant robot shows, mostly from Japan. I was watching Exaggerated Elegy's recent video, his Darkling Revelations videos. If you've never checked out Exaggerated Elegy, the man is the most eloquent human being I have ever listened to. I could listen to him read the Brighton phone book and be absolutely enthralled. But he revealed recently that his job is dealing with the mentally handicapped in the UK. I deal mostly with well, I don't deal professionally, except as I see them in my duties as security guard. But I deal with them on a personal basis, as my roommate and her daughter are both physically handicapped. And this is also going to bring into the Transformers. They recently watched the episode Predacons Rising, and took a very different track on the whole thing. My roommate's not exactly a Transformers fan. She's familiar with the franchise from when her daughter watched it in the 80s, and she's familiar with many of the characters, and actually is a Starscream fan. But she took a totally different view on the relationship between Sentinel Prime, Optimus Prime, and Black Arachnia. Now, I like Black Arachnia. I even like the figure. I think she's cool. She's an interesting person. But I never viewed her as handicapped until I talked to my roommate. My roommate viewed it this way. The way Sentinel Prime and Optimus Prime react to Black Arachnia is much the way able-bodied people react to someone who's been through an accident and ends up disabled or disfigured. They're not sure. Optimus is the more positive way, even though it's still not positive. They're physically repulsed, but they still see the person underneath, and they're trying their best to help this person out, while at the same time holding them at arm's length, keeping them just that far away, because what's happened to them is creepy and scary, and it's just not something they can deal with. Also, he feels a great deal of guilt about it, about leaving her behind, so he feels it's partially his fault this happened, and it should never have happened. He's not exactly sure how we should act around her, and that's how a lot of people feel around the handicap. Now, Sentinel Prime is the exact opposite. He's a knee-jerk reactionary who is so repulsed by the handicaps, by her disfigurement, that he's almost unable to see the woman she was before she was merged with the organic, unable to see the person she used to be. And I get the greater opinion that this is a common feeling among the Autobots. That perhaps the Autobots, as they're portrayed and animated, aren't as good as we are led to believe in the first season. That maybe they're a bit on the racist or ableist side, and unable to accept that which is different, with possible exceptions. Sentinel is a perfect example of this. He seems so repulsed by the organic that even the thought of any of his friends being tainted by it drives him into a murderous rage. Sort of like people who believe that the quality of a handicapped person's life is somehow less than the quality of life of an able-bodied person. It's an interesting thought, and it delves into a deeper question about really where the Autobots stand, and whether or not perhaps the Decepticons don't have more of a point in animated than they have in most of the other continuities. For example, even though Elita 1 Black Arachnia is disfigured and transformed and changed into this thing, this freakish being that is unacceptable to the Autobots in general, she doesn't go back to the Autobots. She goes to the Decepticons, where apparently she'll find a purpose. And at one time, she's apparently Megatron's science advisor. And yes, she is treated differently by the Decepticons, but they don't discard her. They don't treat her as something that has no value, no worth. They're genuinely willing to accept her as in their ranks. At least at the beginning, that's what you get from the opinion of the first few movies. The first 3 episodes transform and roll out, before she ends up on Earth by herself. You get the feeling that, yes, they make fun of her in the comic. They call her Techno-Organic Freak. But the Decepticons make fun of themselves all the time. Megatron makes fun of Starscream. Starscream makes fun of Lugnut. Blitzwing makes fun of everything in his crazy persona. You get the feeling that the Decepticons are more of a collection of outcasts and freaks united by Megatron. It goes into the whole concept of perhaps Blitzwing is a fractured personality who could not function anywhere outside of the Decepticon ranks. And Lugnut is a simple-minded, incredibly loyal attack dog of Megatron. You get the feeling that most of the Decepticons have some huge personality flaw that keeps them from being... that draws them to a charismatic leader. But at the same time, you get the feeling that Black Arachnia joined them because she felt she couldn't have a place in the Autobots, because maybe the Autobots were too stuck up and elitist, too unwilling to accept that which is different. This is just my random thoughts on the subject for right now. I thought I'd throw this out there and see what people think. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I'm just out on a limb. But I think there's something here. If you look, yes, it's a Saturday morning children's cartoon, but the writing is so good, and there are so many levels to what's going on, that you just have to ask yourself, is this an intentional parallel? Is this an intentional thing they put in there? Or is it more of fans reading too much into things? Or people who have certain perspectives seeing things where they aren't? I do not know for sure, but I do find it a fascinating concept. I'd like to hear what people think. This isn't really a toy review, it's more of just a question and an examination. Anyway, this has been Zip Disk, and you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.